nice.
All good?
Yeah,
Lovely stuff. Should we start by saying the crazy thing that just happened in the bathroom?
Oh yeah, I just came out the shower and I was drying myself with a towel, and a big moth, like this big,
Yeah.
dropped out the towel, and
Looked like an actual like species of
yeah,
of rare moth.
yeah, it was quite horrible. And then I was freaking out, thinking that I was rubbing its babies all over my skin as I was drying myself. So that was a bit sad. But I had to. It was the only towel we had, so I had to dry. I had to do that.
It's got to be done. I'm sure it was fine.
Meg did rescue the moth though, and she let it free into the wild.
Yeah,
So
went and took
that's
it to
really
a
good.
nice shady patch of greenery that's just outside, and yeah, it seemed fine.
Yeah. So that's so that just happened.
Just then, yeah.
Like about 5 minutes ago. So that's put me. I feel a bit scared.
Oh,
But I'll be okay.
yeah.
I'll be all right.
You'll
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I could have killed it.
Yeah,
No problem.
Its life was totally in our hands, and it did look like it was struggling. Like it looked like it was suffering. So you kind of like, it was like quivering. It looked like one of its legs had like been broke.
It couldn't stand a chance against me, is what I'm saying.
No.
Though, like, there's no
Yeah.
way that
Oh, no.
there's no way that moth could have ever stood a chance. So that's fine.
But it's funny how we do fear things that we, without a doubt, are like more powerful than and superior to. Like spiders, really common one.
Yeah.
You know, like moths. Yeah, some people really don't like things like pigeons or things
Really?
like that. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, but if you were face to face with that spider, it's just like one stomp and it's gone, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you see, you think about people who live in like the outback, who like they'll just walk past a tarantula
Yeah, like
that's
it's
like the size
nothing.
of your hand,
And they'll
kill
probably
you.
be able to recognise if it's a dangerous one. I bet they just pick
Sure.
them up and go and put them outside. They're that
Yeah,
used to it.
yeah, probably, yeah, maybe, yeah.
But I think I'm okay with spiders. Obviously, they do frighten me a little bit if they startle me. Like the other day, we were sat here, and I saw what I thought looked like a scorpion walking towards us.
A scorpion.
Yeah, do you remember the spider that was down there? And it like
Oh,
had
yeah.
a body that was like
It had like
double,
a
double
long body,
long
didn't
body, and I was like, what the hell is that? Like the fact that I could see it moving out the corner of my eye shows how big it was. I thought, Jesus Christ! But then my initial thing is just like get a Tupperware and a bit of card. I don't like jump up and down like screaming or like get it away. Like I'm perfectly happy going over with a Tupperware and a bit of card, which is nice because when I was younger that was my dad's job, and now
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, come on, you're a big girl now, you can do it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
I'm happy to do it. Whereas we had like mice one time in the flat.
Yeah,
We had a random couple of months where we were just seeing mice all the time.
yeah,
And you know, they were harmless. They weren't, you know, there wasn't like loads of them. It was just we'd be like like in the corner we'd just see it scurry past the skirting board,
yeah.
and that used to proper shit me up. It used to like that would have me like stood on the couch being like, no, I
I guess it's
can't.
a bit different with that. It's like
Because they're so fast.
they're very fast, and they're very like, 1 minute you'll it's just like you just see it in the corner of your eye, just
Yeah.
like dart from one. And
Used to proper give me anxiety, like make
Yeah.
me very on edge and anxious and stuff, even though I know it couldn't hurt me. And
Yeah.
many a time we had these little humane mouse traps, and we'd catch them, and I'd be like, oh, I'd feel so bad. I'd literally pick
Yeah.
up the trap, I'd go and release it somewhere nice,
Yeah.
and it doesn't bother me once I'm there with them.
Hmm.
And if someone had a pet mouse or a pet rat or a pet hamster, it wouldn't bother me. It's just the
No,
startle
it's the
aspect.
yeah, but it's anything like, if you had a tarantula and a tarantula like just like ran out in front of you, you'd be like.
Yeah.
But if you had it in if you had it in a little not
wouldn't
cage.
scare me, yeah.
So our old roommate Tyler said that he was in his old room.
This
and
is crazy.
He had a mouse, and it climbed the wall next to his bed,
Like a
it
brick,
was,
we had it's like exposed brick walls.
yeah. So it climbed like this,
That's
like right next
pretty
to him.
intense.
That was that sounds pretty
pretty
inten-
hardcore.
Yeah,
That.
yeah. So,
That's scary.
but I guess it's always one of those things you realise it's like they can't. None of those
No,
things can kill you.
they
Not
can't.
not in England. There's nothing that
They can't.
can hurt you.
And the more you do get exposed to it and let go of the fear, okay, it startled me. That's okay. But now I realise that like I am a grown up. I can handle it. I can take care of it and get on with my day. That's like a proper like what doesn't kill you make you stronger thing of like
What's that thing of like no fear? Just like no,
Yeah.
like what's the like it can't like that's
fearless. It's a Swift song.
Oh,
It's a good tune. You haven't heard it, I don't think.
I don't think. I mean, I probably have somewhere. Yeah.
It's a good tune.
But no, it's just that thing, isn't it? It's like you realize with stuff like that, it's like there's, but it's, you know, when you're a kid, you can't grasp certain fears, certain emotions. So it's like, okay, you fear the thing like the spider, or you fear like I don't know, like heights or something. Whereas like, and then you get older and it's like you're scared of that spider. You know what's really scary? MS. Or like, you know what,
So
or like early onset dementia. It's like that's scary.
Yeah.
Or yeah, you know, where it's like, yeah, so then you see a spider.
Like, no trust in the government, that's scary. Like,
taxes,
you know, war,
that's scary.
That's
like,
scary. Yeah, it's funny.
But then again, it's like no, you know, that you sort of look, but you know, not to say that you shouldn't be scared of that stuff, but it's like a good grounding technique, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like if I'm like, oh no, I'm meeting with someone and I need to, you know, we need to have a conversation about something, and it might be a difficult conversation, it might be confrontational, you go, oh yeah, that's really scary, and you get in your own head, and it's like, well, it's not like you're going to get a set of results that could potentially dictate your life for the next, you know.
So true. That's a good way of thinking about it. But it's funny how sometimes these little things you can just really like hone in on them and be like, oh god.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Justin Timberlake. Senorita.
I think like part of it is like I don't even want to like waste the airtime or the camera time.
No, we don't talk about JT in particular, but
the stuff we were talking, but just before we just
we were coming back from the gym.
Yeah, and we started talking about. I think you brought it up and you said, like, have you seen all this stuff about Justin Timberlake? And he's, you know, he's been in the press recently because he arrested for a DUI, but then he went off and did a concert afterwards. And then we, you know, that was good. We started talking about that, and we were like, you know, how do we feel about that kind of stuff? And it quickly evolved into quite a deep conversation about celebrity culture and the responsibility that celebrities have, like whether they like it or not, but the responsibility that they have for doing stuff like this in the public eye, and the idea of sort of getting away with it or doing it and then not really being like held up to the same standards maybe because they're celebrities. Like, I mean, you could like the whole Will Smith thing. I mean, I know that's a million years ago.
That's old news, but it's still the principle is like still relevant though.
Yeah, it's like, you know, someone assaults someone in public and they don't really, I mean, you know, the idea that he's not really had any movies, is that the punishment? The punishment is like, oh, well, what's Will Smith's punishment for that, for acting like that?
Do you think though? I'm sure because he's just been in Bad Boys 4. That was huge.
4? Yeah,
Bad Boys 4.
There was a Bad Boys 3.
Yeah.
When was that? I thought that was the new one that came out, Bad Boys 3.
When was that? When do you think?
Like recently, but maybe was it a thing where it's like they filmed it before? No, is that not the case?
I don't know. The only reason I say it's 4 is because I spoke to someone the other week or a couple of weeks ago, and they said they'd gone to the cinema to see Bad Boys, and I was like, oh, like Bad Boys 3, and they're like, oh no, it said 4. So that's why I think it's 4, but it could be 3 or 4. Either way, a Bad Boys movie has just come out and it's done really well.
Has it?
Yeah, it's done pretty well.
And it's just come out. It didn't come out like a year ago, but
no,
it feels
came out
like...
this year, 2024.
Wow.
And it was like a big movie that's come out, and it's like, following on the stuff. I don't know the other guy's name in it, but he's
Martin Lawrence, that's
it. So it's
that's
like
crazy.
What is really and I think he's been doing loads of other stuff, not movie related. I can't remember what it was, but some sort of like business stuff that he's been doing big at the minute. I don't know. But either way, I know what you mean. Like, it's not really a punishment. It's kind of like that thing of like when you're that big of a name.
Yeah.
It's kind of like... But it'd have to be something like really big and really bad, like that would probably end your career. Do you know what I mean? I think the thing that happened with him, I don't think that's enough to like... Well, I mean,
it's like look at like, but he assaulted someone in front of loads, you know, millions of people, and it wasn't as if then this governing body stepped in and said, right,
Yeah,
so
where was
we have laws,
security?
like
Yeah.
you know that if you assault someone you get arrested.
Yeah.
That's the law. Like, but we have those, but we're willing to negate those laws and compromise on them for what reason exactly? Because
Yeah.
for what? And then and even more so because he's a celebrity, it's like people will watch that, and I can't think of how many people then will think, yeah, so if someone makes a joke and you know it's a joke and it's like it's clearly, and it's one of the most light-hearted jokes you could make.
Yeah.
It's not even like a real burn or a real zinger.
No.
Then it's okay to get up and assault
hit
someone
them, yeah.
and get away with it. You know, don't you think that
Yeah.
just is like that's such a toxic, horrible
No,
thing that
so
people are going to
true.
think it's okay with? You know,
Well, it's kind of like
okay to do.
yeah, like I mean, I've seen clips of like Justin Timberlake and stuff performing. Everyone in the crowd's loving it, and he's doing all his old hits, and it's like, you know, this guy the other day was literally driving drunk and like could have had an accident and killed people. Like
He got intoxicated, and then knowingly got in his car and drove, and it's like, okay, so you've taken, you know.
I wonder if it was it driving under the influence of drugs? Do you reckon
maybe
it was
it's
cocaine,
sorry,
or do you
yeah,
reckon, I don't know.
maybe
I haven't
yeah.
actually read anything about what it was.
Same. Maybe. I mean, if it's drugs, well, then that's an added thing,
Yeah.
you know, because they're illegal. But
Yeah.
then the interesting thing there is, it's like, okay, yeah, and we were talking about this. It's like, so then he gets arrested. He's, you know, you see his mugshots all over the place, and then social media then turns it into a meme, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like
That's the first thing I saw was his mugshot.
yeah, and it's like, okay, like I think part of that is like expected, and part of that is like, okay,
Yeah.
like you're seeing the funny in that situation, and that's, I don't think there's necessarily something inherently bad with that, but it's like, well, we've sort of just bypassed the whole thing of, shouldn't this person who's in the public eye and has more of a responsibility towards fans, people that look up to him, to be like, well,
Yeah.
you need to sort of be made more of an example of, because
I agree.
because you are you're in the public eye, and you'll
Yeah.
mean more to people than the average,
Yeah.
you know, like someone who's not famous will.
That was what I was saying. Like, if say if Mike or I got pulled over and got a DUI, like that's obviously awful, and we should definitely be, you know, your license should be taken away or at least suspended. Probably a penalty fine, and then potentially
do like
community
300 hours of
potential
you know,
community service and stuff for the potential harm that you could have caused there. And it's like, okay, yeah, but then someone like Justin Timberlake gets a DUI. It's like they need to be. It's a weird thing. It's like a crime and punishment thing. Like, okay, he might commit the same crime, but his level of public figureness and the amount of money that he's paid and his status, the power, all that comes into being such a famous like public figure.
yeah.
It's like you need to be, like you say, held accountable, but also kind of made an example of, because not only you're not an average person that's
Yeah.
done something, you
Yeah.
need to be held more accountable. Like the punishment needs to be more severe, and I don't even know why I believe that so firmly. But
you saying like severe, you know, that has like, I feel like that has a bad connotation of what a punishment is. It's
Yeah.
like severe. It's like, oh, you're gonna, you know, you'll be whipped and like held, you
no,
know, like
oh my god, no, nothing like that.
but the idea of it being like, well, so it's so in his case, it's like if you said to him, so the average person who's not famous might have to pay a couple of $1,000, a couple of £1,000.
It should be relevant to their current
Yeah.
situation. Yeah,
And also and you've got to spend 300 hours going to talking to victims of people who have been, or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So you do a combination of like you go and pick up rubbish, and then you also go and visit people that have been victims of
Yeah.
drunken or
Yeah.
intoxicated car crashes
Stuff,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get to keep your license, but it's contingent that you do all these things.
Yeah.
And you have to do things in the public eye, which is like, yeah, I don't think that I can just do this and get away with it and think, yeah, like that's fine because I'm Justin Timberlake. Oh, same with Will Smith, you know. It's like, or
yeah.
a bunch. I don't know. There's probably more people in the public eye that have done things wrong, but it is a weird one, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
it's just a weird case of like, it's not even like the punishment doesn't fit the crime. It's like, what is the punishment?
Yeah.
Like,
That's
yeah.
what I mean. Like, if you or me got something like that, if you and me got done for something like that, you know, it'd it'd really suck having our license suspended because we need the car for our living. You know, we don't, you know, we're not like made of money, and like if we got fined, that would be a blow. But like to someone like Justin Timberlake, it's like if someone takes his license away, it's like whatever, he gets a chauffeur, could get chauffeured by from a limousine or a private helicopter wherever he wants, whenever he wants.
Yeah.
If he gets like a few grand fine, it's like no sweat. It's
ocean,
literally like a few pennies. So I think that's what I mean when I'm like, it needs to be equivalent to what would really make you take this seriously compared to what it would, you know what I mean, someone like an average person. But then it kind of got us talking as well about this thing of when you see celebrities or like public figures get upset about like things like paparazzi or you know, like sort of getting getting low-key harassment is what it is really, when you see paparazzi following people in the street with cameras and asking them questions. It's kind of harassy. And then it's like, you know, they might be outside their property, they haven't like broken any laws, they haven't like they haven't like made contact with you or gone onto your private property. They're kind of well within their rights as on public like, you know, like property and stuff, to take photos or videos, whatever. But then it's mad when you see celebrities getting so, it's like, oh, I can't deal with this, like, oh, this is so bad. And it's kind of like, if that's the worst bit of your job, like,
I do think people forget, don't they? Because like you could say like, you know, you've seen like, I can think of, I don't know, there's loads of examples of celebrities going like, you know, like, but they're getting quite aggressive, they're swearing at paparazzi, they're saying like, back up, you know, get you know, the swearing and stuff. And it's like, okay, so like the paparazzi, like, it's, you know, they're on a 100th, maybe more of a salary of what you're on.
Oh, they're barely anything.
They're getting pushed to do this because that's their job. It's like, I don't think anyone dreams of becoming paparazzi. It happens through, you know, probably a set of circumstances, which is like, okay, look, if I can get a shot of this person, I can put food on the table. So I'll go and do that. And if it means that
and then the celebrity will berate them. And it's like, how dare you?
Because and people would make the argument and say, well, they're people too, and they want their privacy and they want to be treated like everybody else. It's
don't
like, well,
do that as a job then. Like, literally get a quiet job, live a normal life. Don't be a billionaire.
Exactly. if someone's gonna say, okay, Mike, step in front of that camera and say your line, say, oh great, okay, now do that like a couple of hundred more times, and now you've got a couple of million in the bank. I'd be like, that's part of the job then, isn't it? Me being in the public eye and having to deal with paparazzi, having to walk down the street and people taking my photo. It's like, are people just so like, not like, they lack the self-awareness, but the celebrities, like, who are like, you know, there's people, and I know it's not, you know, you see celebrities all the time that are very courteous and they're like, oh yeah, like, it's cool.
Oh yeah, this isn't all celebrities, it's just like, it's probably more notable of like celebrities being like, oh, like getting annoyed, getting upset, like swearing, getting aggressive, than it is to see a nice sound celebrity just being like, let's do it.
Or it's like, you hear of these celebrities that are like, you know, so like on top of their schedule, they go to free events where they will go and just sit down and be like, I'm going to be here, people can come in and I'll sign stuff and I'll do blah, 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 and whatever it is, I'll do that for an extended period, because it's like, well, no, you're not getting paid for it, but it's something that you do as like a exchange to the public, because it's the public that have basically made you a multimillionaire.
Absolutely.
So it's like, and is that, so the hardest part of the job is you repeatedly just saying thank you so much, you know. It's like someone comes and they say I love you so much, and you're getting tired of saying, God, I just hate hearing that. Oh, and it's tiring saying thank you, and it's like, you know, you should go and try and work in a hospital or you know, something where it's really grinding, or you know, doing like, you know,
being like a social worker for like kids who are from rough backgrounds. It's a thankless job. Everybody thinks that you're the adults don't like you because you're taking away their kids. The kids don't like you because you're taking away from an awful like environment. It's like,
it's just crazy.
Man,
it's
mad,
crazy.
isn't it?
It
like,
really is. It's like, and it
proper, like, I don't know. It like, I try and not get like down about it, because, you know, I've got my own life to live and stuff, but it's crazy seeing like the culture of celebrity now, and just how people just think they're so above things. And
well, it's like everybody, you know, you have like celebrity culture now, you can be a borderline celebrity just by having an Instagram that's got loads of,
true,
you know, being
yeah.
an influencer. People know you, and you can get certain pull.
What do you think about influencers? What comes to mind when you, because we've never really talked about this, like I don't think that you and me really ever go like talk about stuff like that, but what comes to mind when you hear like, oh, I'm an influencer? Like, is it do you have a positive connotation, negative? Do you think of something silly? Do you think, oh, that's like aspirational? Like what do you think of when you hear it?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I still don't think I fully get it, and I feel as if that, like, let's say you or I, or the podcast or whatever, let's say we had hundreds of thousands of followers and we were getting good engagement, and we were actually doing good, and people were you know, hundreds of thousands of people were like connecting with us and getting something from it.
Yeah.
And then there were offers to do things that were like, well, you can do something that's going to promote something. So that's kind of influence, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would never say that I was an influencer, because it's like that the whole connotation of that kind of sounds, to me it sounds a bit like I'm an influencer. It sounds icky. It's like I influence. It's like there's an element of manipulation almost.
Yeah,
like,
I influence you, and also for me the connotation is always to buy. I influence you to buy this product. I influence you to go to this hotel and spend money there. I influence you to, like, it's not I influence you to have a good day and be grateful for your health. It's always influence. The brand is working through me.
That's right.
To sell to you people because I'm relatable.
It's like the influencer basically means mouthpiece for brand.
Yeah.
Whereas say if you get someone like,
it's mad, isn't it?
I use this guy, Andrew Huberman. He's not an influencer. He's
not.
A scientist, and he's trying to he promotes his findings through what, you know, through his research and through the podcast and everything.
Yeah.
But you could say, well, is he an influencer because he's trying to influence people to lead a better life and to do? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say that, because that's
like anything. That's like if you're an actor. Are you an influencer because you're influencing people to like watch your movies? Like, no, I think influencing for me, I think it's defo more about a product thing of like, and it can be so subtle sometimes. You could be an influencer and never ever specifically say, oh, I love this coffee, you should go and try it, use my discount code. It's sometimes just as simple as being someone of a certain status, having a certain aesthetic, and just being seen drinking the coffee. That's enough influencing for some people that are big enough. They never even have to say it, but then the people that kind of look up to them and think, oh, they live this lifestyle that I want so bad, and oh, they drink coffee at this place, so like that's where I'm gonna go. It's really fascinating.
It's that idea of like, does anyone set out to become an influencer? Does anyone dream of being an influencer? Or is it like you should have a deeper dream of like, what is it that there's got to be more to you than just the idea of being able to sell something through social media?
I know what you mean.
You know, it's like, it's like if you want to be an actor, or you want to be a coffee shop, whatever, an owner, it's like you want to do that because you have a love or a passion for that thing, and then
I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Like
So,
I don't think anyone deep down has a passion for selling products that aren't theirs. It's kind of like you're in sales if you're an influencer. It's like I might be employed at times I've been employed by sales people. Like I've worked for like Lush, worked for the Body Shop. You know, I'll turn up there, I'm on like an hourly wage, but when I'm there it's kind of like, okay, you're being paid to sell these products, talk about them in a certain way, say that you use them, say that oh, I love this, like every single, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like what influencers do, only they won't turn up to the bricks and mortar shop. They just are at home living this lifestyle, and then they're going like, oh, I want to talk about this moisturizer or something. I love it. And they might be telling the truth, they might not be.
Yeah,
but then it's like, go and use it because they're paying me to tell
Yeah.
you to use it. But
It's,
also,
that's
like,
what I mean. It's probably like when it's like you can't trust someone that's like if you know that this person is an influencer. It's like, well,
yeah,
I know you're getting paid to shove
yeah.
that product.
But that's where
I
the
can't.
good ones stand out though, because I think no one's immune in a way to like being influenced. Because if you're a really good influencer, people will really trust that you really use that product because they'll be like, you know, I'm not going to take money from brands I don't truly support. I'm not going to use products I'm not going to recommend products to you. And they're being very transparent, and that's a very good sales technique because it's transparent.
Yeah. And
Like,
yeah.
there's a few influencers that I will like follow and I keep up to date with what they're up to. Not like, usually they're like fitness influencers, so you
Right.
know they'll put out gym content or they'll do certain things like that, and then you know there's like the Gymshark sale that's coming up. Is it 26th today or 27th?
25th.
25th. On the 27th, I know that there's going to be this Gymshark sale, and if I decide to get anything, I know what code I'm using from them to
Right.
get a bit more
Right.
discount. But that's because they've done such a good job of like putting out this content that I like,
Yeah.
and I think they're inspirational. That I'm like, I want to like support you by using this
Yeah,
code. It's
okay.
like that's how they've done a really good job there because they have like made me feel like they're
Well,
relatable.
I mean,
it's
that's
interesting.
That's
Yeah.
not to say that the job of being of an influencer isn't difficult and that you have to be
No,
really
no, yeah.
on it. You know, it's like with anything. It's like anyone that you see.
Oh no, I wouldn't say it's easy.
No.
I wouldn't say it's easy where.
Anyone that's managed to get a couple of 100,000 followers across social media channels clearly has put the work in and
Yeah,
they're clearly
for
doing
sure.
something right. So, you know, from an entrepreneurial point of view, it's like, yeah, no, it's good. Like, you know,
Yeah.
if you might have come from a background of nothing, and then
Yeah.
you've found social media, you've worked it to your advantage, and now you're getting paid
Yes.
thousands of pounds
respect,
just
respect.
when you could be not doing that.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's like a
Especially when I see like the girlies doing it, I'm like,
yeah. Well, it's
I love
always
that,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'd much rather see you working for yourself, being a bit of a brand representative for certain things and, you know, having codes and doing that. But I'd much rather see that and think to myself, like, not that like I could do that, but in a sense it's like, yeah, because in a way you're kind of taking a bit of like control over things and you do seem happy and you do seem like you're enjoying yourself, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's like, whereas you see people that maybe don't enjoy what they're doing every day, and
Well, that's a you know, that's a really important distinction, isn't it? Because I feel as if that through social media, you know, you can look at social media and be like, well, everybody is trying to be, well, you know, a lot, the majority people trying to be special. They're trying to have a standout feature, comedy, influencing, fitness, this, that, and the other. You know, gathering hundreds of thousands of followers, all for that. And it's, you know, it's like, wow, okay, so like everybody's doing that. Everybody can do it. Anyone
Yeah.
with a phone can do it. It's you know, it's huge. It's like the
Yeah.
pool is being really
It's
saturated, and
intense.
people are getting, you know, like that level of notoriety is sort of it's broadening because you can be someone who's you're not in movies, but I know who you are because
Yeah.
of the stuff that you put out on
Yeah.
social media, and then
which is a very new phenomenon, really,
within the
in
past
the grand
like
scheme
20,
of like
10, 15 years.
humanity. Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, but then, you know, and you and I'll know this better than, you know, well, not better, but you and I'll know this, what this feels like, where you grow up in a very small, tiny northern town where it's just like, well, what are you doing? It's like, well, I go and work at the factory or whatever it
Yeah.
is, or the plant, or the this, that, and the other, and then
Like industrial.
I go and work in the industry, and then it's the pub, and
Yeah.
then it's the weekend. What you're doing? It was probably just have a couple of beers, go and watch the game or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you know, yeah, you get that anywhere. That's not
Yeah.
specific to, but there's a niche of that Northern England vibe, and
For
it's
sure.
like, I feel like us seeing that. It's like, well, here, for example, it's like, in my mind, that's what it feels like. It feels like I'd always rather be on that other side of the spectrum where it's like, I'm up for being ridiculed. It's like you're an attention seeker. You are selling yourself. Blah blah blah. You've got no integrity. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. I'd rather do all that and be like, yeah, well, at least I'm trying to make better than what my
Yeah,
Because if
yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
doing all that and I refused that, in my mind, it's almost like there isn't really a middle ground for me anyway. That's what it feels like. It feels as if that like the middle ground for me would be like, okay, well look, we have a great flat here in Liverpool. Um, we make decent money doing what we do. I don't need to be special. I don't need to go out there and try and push for something that I feel inside me is something that I want to explore. Because through doing that, I realized that everybody else is doing it. So why should I bother? Because
Yeah.
I'm not special, because everybody else is trying to be special.
Yeah.
So I'll just make peace with what I'm doing here and try and find beauty in the little things and try and, put my mind to my work. And you could say, yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
because that might be fine. But there's a deeper thing of being like, feel like what would happen is you could make your peace with that and you could try and find the beauty in the day-to-day, and you could probably do that very well, but there would always be this thing 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, where I'm like,
what if I'd have tried that?
why didn't you just put in 50% a bit more effort of trying to push yourself out of your comfort zone?
And see what happens. I saw this thing the other day that was saying like better a oops than a what if. Like, you'd rather do something and be like, oh, well, that didn't work out. Like, that fell flat, or like, oh, that didn't go anywhere. Than being like, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I'd have done that. Or like, and that's getting into like this idea of regret, which I think is a real adult scary. That's really scary. Feeling regretful of something, of getting to a certain point in life and feeling like, wow, I regret something, because it's like, God, like, not that
horrible feeling.
It's a horrible feeling. It's a terrifying like premise to this idea of getting to 60, 70, 80, like whatever you're lucky enough to get to.
Even like 30, 35. I mean,
I know that's still young,
it's
but it's super
like
young. But isn't that interesting that we would consider that young? But I reckon I think like what you were talking about before, this idea of like where heavily our culture comes from of, you get up, you go to your job, you don't like it, but that's life. You finish up, you go to the pub, you have your weekend, you might have your 2-week holiday once a year or something. It's like in that mindset, like you've kind of done being young in your like teens and probably your 20s, you're already on that path. Your 30s, you're well into it, and then you hit like 40 or something, and it's kind of like, oh, like I'm kind of midlife now, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
So it literally is, it doesn't need to be 50, 60, 70, it can literally be in your 30s or like hitting 40 and thinking like, oh man, like I've not done what I wanted to do.
I've not even got close.
Yeah.
But that's that's like, with the whole music thing and everything, it's like, I was saying, we were talking about this the other day, and I was like, I feel like I gave 10 years, started at like, from 17 I was like I was playing gigs and starting to make some money
and stuff.
It's like I've given 10 years of my life to that, and I've not really gotten anywhere significant apart from the fact that I can make a living off it, which is significant, but I mean, like, in terms of the whole, getting signed or having some record or doing decent gigs and tours and festivals, like
validation and stuff like that, like you don't feel like you've gotten bless you. You don't feel like you've gotten to.
Well, it's just never happened, and it's not through a lack of trying. It's like I have spent a elongated period of time doing that, and now it's like, okay, like I'm in this position where it's like, well, I'm only 27. You can start again at 27.
Totally.
And if anything, you can feel that, getting that buzz and feeling excited about being like, okay, well, like, you want to do something creative, but you want to explore other terrains, other lifestyles, other cultures, other possibilities. And then the scary thing for me is being like, okay, that feels scary. That does feel like I feel scared by that. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm going to have to take more risks.
There's a lot of unanswered questions.
I know what my life looks like here now, and I can predict it, and there's a certain element of peace that comes with that.
Absolutely.
But then I feel like the truly terrifying thing would be like, now I'm 37, and that's still, you can still change your life at 37. I'm 37. I stayed here. I didn't go out there and change what it was that I wanted to do. I cemented my life even further. Maybe we buy the flat because we've got a bit more money. Maybe we start having some kids. Then all of a sudden, you know, life gets a bit more complicated, and I can't go and pursue that life.
Yeah.
And then it's that feeling makes me feel so sick of like, oh God, like you could have done that, but because you were scared and because you were complacent, you came up with all these arguments as to why it was easier not to do that thing. So
that's such a good point.
But the regret thing of like, we were talking as I was making this. I've been saying, you know, I've been talking a lot. Been talking a lot recently. Been giving it all this recently. You know, the idea of like, I was saying to Meg, I was like, you know, the idea of, we went to LA a few years back, and it was a trip that it was kind of not silly, but it was kind of, we were young, and we were like 21, and I was like, I remember being sort of adamant on being like, I want to go out to LA because I want to see what the whole thing's like. I want to see what the fuss is about. What's LA like? Why is it that people go to LA and that whole culture that's around LA? And then I don't feel like not that you didn't want to go, but it was like you made a good point of like, let's go somewhere in Europe where we can actually have a fun time and it's a bit less intense.
Yeah, like let's like not go halfway across the world when the furthest place we've been together before is like Paris. Yeah,
which is like an hour and a half away. And I was like, no, like.
But thinking back, you were right to want us to go there because, you know, if you hadn't have like sort of spurred on that trip, you know, you got ill like not long afterwards.
Yeah, I did.
So then maybe we would never have gone, like, because I mean, you definitely weren't in a state to be flying when you weren't well.
For sure.
So it's like, if we'd have listened to me and just gone like, you know, Venice or something like.
No, because like we might have had a
fun time, but Venice, you might have that feeling of being like, oh, what if?
I'd always be wondering, and I'd always be like, why didn't I do that when I could? But we went, and it was a very overwhelming experience, and again, because I don't think I was going for the right reasons. I don't really know why. It was that thing of being like, I just want to see.
Do you almost want to see if it's real?
Kind of. It was that, and I wanted to explore. I wanted to see how I felt being there in that place, and then, obviously, you know, you go. Wasn't really the right. I didn't really have the right temperament, right frame of mind going into it. Then you go, and then it's like, okay, this is so overwhelming. I'm so out of touch. This is so scary. It's like you think that you're this, not big fish, but you being in Liverpool for so long, it's like, well, you know the terrain, you know what it's like, you know, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
You go to LA and it's like, this is a bit insane. This is a lot going on here. It's a lot to take in. Culture shock, blah blah blah. Like, from everything as little as like, you know, you get out and you step outside of LAX, step off the plane at LAX, and it's like oh my God, like this is so different. You know, the freeways are like two of our motorways, like the you know, hearing people talk, you talk differently. Not everyone's saying sorry at the end of every sentence, or you know, it's not prefaced with like not hearing the Scouse accent and hearing this other Californian accent. It's like, wow, and just the learning nuances of the culture and being like, wow, this is crazy. And then felt overwhelmed, felt like, okay, like maybe I've made a mistake coming here, like I'm not ready for this yet, like. And then, you know, we still had a nice time. We did loads of cool stuff there. We had a good time and experienced California, which was
fun
cool.
to like be so far out of our comfort zone as well. Which, you know, looking back, it's like, I think if we went now, we probably wouldn't have that.
I don't think so. I think
like response of being like absolutely shell shocked. I think
we're different now. We're different people, and we
because
have
maybe we've spent some time challenging ourselves a bit.
Exactly. So you can. I feel like we could navigate that. I certainly feel like I could navigate that better.
Me too.
But I was saying, I was like, this whole thing of like, well, you know, I was like, maybe we should spend some time out in LA because we've been there before, and we could go there again and spend maybe a little bit longer out there and explore what it's, you know, there's a, you know.
So we're starting a GoFund us to. No, I'm joking.
GoFund us to Los Angeles. But I think it's that thing of like, you could, you know, people would say you don't need to go if you like, you're doing something because you like it. We could be in a garage in Widnes, or we could be in LA. It wouldn't make any difference. But there is a thing of, I was saying that I feel as if here it's like, when I moved here, it was like it was moving here for the music, and then
The opportunities were like
through the music, and now it's like not that those doors have closed, but it's like I feel as if that maybe that chapter's come
they're
to
just
its
like not doors you're looking for anymore.
exactly, and it's I've
and the doors that you do want to look for are in extremely short supply here, so it's like
and
why wouldn't you want to go and check out, you know, it's like I was thinking about it, like if I was still living in Runcorn, and I was like, oh, I've set up my small business, I've got a little Etsy, you know, I want to go and do some craft markets, I want to do some pop-ups. Like there was nothing like that in Runcorn. There was literally the car booty. I can't think of one place I could have gone and done a craft fair or had my stuff stocked in a local shop or anything, because there physically wasn't the opportunity there. Like,
well, that's but you know, it goes back to that thing, isn't it? People don't. It's not that cliche thing of like we got on a plane from California and we flew to Runcorn, or we flew to Liverpool, or we flew to, you know, to try and pursue that thing. And I'm not saying that that's I'm not saying that that's always the case, because like Liverpool's got great ties.
It's just a stereotype.
It's a stereotype. And then it's like, okay, well, what, you're gonna be like one of these people that, what, you moved to LA because what, you want to become this LA guy? And it's like, no.
I'd rather do that though than be like, oh no, I would never do that because that would never work.
Yeah, and it's like or New York or something like that. It's like, it's the idea of being like, there's a reason why there's a stereotype, and there's a reason why people pick up how many times have you heard this in an interview?
Everyone does
so
it.
I packed up my case and
Taylor Swift, you know, she was, I don't know where she was, but then she went to like Nashville. Yeah, and which obviously she was super privileged to be able to do that. Her mum and dad just dropped everything.
Nashville's huge though for the country music scene.
Exactly,
that's the place.
That's where she went to go and try and make it as a country artist, because there weren't any opportunities in her hometown.
Sure. So
it's like, it's not like it's it needs to be LA, this silly pipe dream or something, but it's kind of like, okay, what are you interested in? Okay, there's this. Where in the world? All
creative fields. It's like the idea of being like, you know, you want to make creative content, you want to do stuff that's in the field of...
And maybe a lifestyle that feels more attuned to you, of being somewhere that's a bit more like open space and, you know, less of a, like, maybe less of like a drinking culture, I guess. But I know people say that you get that everywhere. But I mean, we were there, when we were there, did we see one drunk person? Did we see one, like... I don't know. We didn't really see anything like that.
It was way more. It was like there were elements that were scary, but the way you know, you'd drive down to downtown and you'd see quite a lot of homeless people, and that would be kind of scary.
That'd be intimidating.
Skid Row, you know, we didn't go there, but we could see it from downtown. We were like, okay, that looks a bit. But you know, it's like recently I've been walking down Bowl Street and I'm seeing loads more, and Church Street, and I've seen loads more homeless people set up, and that's like, okay, well, it's like, oh well, yes, sucks for me to see that. I get it. It's like, yeah, there's
it's not that though.
But it's not that. It's like it's happening here, and it's like, okay, well, those things that I was maybe afraid of, then it's like I'm a bit older now, so it's like you can make, you know, you not make your peace, but your perspective changes a bit from it. And it's like, well, it's happening here, so it's happening there. It's happening everywhere. You could go to Chicago, go to a bunch of other places, and it'd be happening. But I don't know. I think it's mainly just that thing of, it's also that thing that's happening within me where I'm like, well, look, man, it's like, if that's something that's happening in yourself, where you're like, you've
gotta go for it.
I feel like this is something I want to embark on. And it was the same with music. I had that same feeling of being like, go and busk more, go and start doing more music stuff, go and push that. And it was like, if I'd have been like, no, don't do that. You know, you can keep working at game, and you can keep, you know, you've got your degree in English literature, go and pursue, you know, that.
Don't bother.
I would have said the same thing of like, no, I have to go do that thing.
And that's amazing that, like, the past, you know, so many years of you doing music has built up this thing in you where it's like, you like don't let obstacles like get in your way. Like, you do something that doesn't work out, you would just never go, like, oh well, I tried. You know, you'd always think of something else. So
Well,
right now,
I
with,
appreciate that.
you know, with wanting to do other creative stuff, it's like, well, no, you've laid your path now. Like, just do that. And like, oh no, like there's all these obstacles in your way. Like, you've kind of got this refrain of like, no, I don't let things like, I don't let, not even failures, I wouldn't even say it's failures, it's just things that just haven't worked out. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like in the way that you thought they would.
Well, with the music stuff though, it's like that you know, because I sort of did give up on that to an extent, where it's like it got to the stage where it was, you know, to be fair though, I feel like what happened there was, it was like it got to a stage where it was evident. It was like you spent thousands of pounds, sent to so many record labels, had potential interest, but then got blown off, and then all the while being like, I'm seeing other people who have done less work than me and who've run at things less intensely than me, and they are getting places, like tangible places, in less time than I. So it's like, okay, now you could be like, okay, well, like, you know, that wouldn't deter someone that really
and that's
loved
when
it.
you realise that, like,
it's
it's really not, the love's not there.
If I can be deterred by stuff like by that, then clearly the thing isn't there. But something interesting that I wanted to ask you is that I've had this thing, you know, we've been watching Better Call Saul recently.
Great show.
Amazing. I love the whole BTS thing. And the whole thing of that is, I feel as if with Breaking Bad as well, is it's this idea of like, you don't watch someone turn into a bad guy. You watch someone turn into the thing that they always were going to turn into.
Yeah.
And it just took a long period of time, but you know, so it's like Walter White, he was always a bastard. You were just watching him become the bastard. Jimmy was always this guy who was like, he'd just had it from a kid. He was always going to be that guy, like, but he wasn't a bad guy.
No,
it was like he was just a guy that was able to turn things to his advantage. And then it's like, do you think that there's an element of that in all of us, or particularly like in you, where it's like, you know, like, you might have this feeling inside you, and it's like, I kind of know that this is who I am. And there's other things that are not shrouding that, but there's other things that come into play, and every day I'm witnessing myself reveal that even more.
Yeah, that's such a far out question.
Sorry.
No.
It's just something that I feel like I've been thinking about that a lot recently.
No, yeah, okay. So I think when you were saying that, my initial thing is the side of me that really doesn't believe in myself, saying, okay, no, you see all this that you're doing, you know, doing a small business, like trying to work on your fitness, doing these like good things and having these good things, all of that's really not meant for you, but you're just doing your best to like make it work. Do you know what I mean? Like, and really who you are and who you're meant to become is not in a depressive way, but like nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, or like who you are at your core, like none of this is like really meant for you, because you don't have anything of real value or real sustenance and stuff. But like, I know that that's not true. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that's just the like side of me that can sometimes latch on to that like thought process and that stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that's not true. So then if I ignore that bit, it's kind of like, do I feel like, I don't know, you know, not to say no as in like I don't think I have any greater depth or like destiny or something, because it's kind of what you're thinking. Like, do I think my destiny is a certain person or a certain way of who I am at my core, and that's just waiting to come out?
But you could also flip that and say like, well, if you feel as if the thing that's at your core is all those negative things, then it's like that's evidence that needs to be changed, because you can't go through life thinking that you're the person you are deep down is this person that's a failure and isn't destined for anything.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So that's why, like, I know that isn't true. So that's why every day I prove that wrong. Like, every day. You know what I mean? With everything that I do. Like, anything that doesn't lean into that is me actually being, oh no, this is really who you are. Do you know what I mean? It's not this person that just like, you know, can't really do anything important or anything like that. So I don't know.
Is that your tummy?
Yeah, we've not had a brekkie yet.
Yeah.
Who I am at my core is a hungry girl. But yeah, no, not in. I don't think so. I think, like, I don't think there's a part of me that's like waiting to, like, burst out, or there's a path that like, oh, I know inevitably that's where I'm going.
Not waiting for that, but like, I used to think that, like, through playing music and putting myself out and doing things through the music, I feel like I'd be embodying parts of my personality or parts of other people's personality that I was like, well, this is how I should act, particularly with like there's
a lot of ego really in that question though, of like that thing of like feeling like, oh, the I, as in like my identity and who people see me as. You know, like I don't really think I have any sense of that. I think mine's more like, oh no, I need to prove to myself that I can do things and that I can challenge myself and I can do hard things, irrespective of what anyone sees. You know what I mean?
I think that's I think that's the best way to do it, because it's like you're not driven by like your outcomes
or like this prophecy. You know what I mean? Like no, it's just about
me. You, and it's about, that's because it's your identity. Your identity is like, well, I'm the kind of woman that gets up and puts myself through these sets of tasks, and that's more important than being like, well, I'm this woman that takes
people
this big leap
this, or,
and that does this thing, like, which is more important than
I think so. Yeah, not that I think that you don't have that, but I know what you mean of maybe like in the past of you. You know, what were you saying? Like, you kind of felt like you were embodying this kind of this idea,
this thing of like
pursuing music, like you were going to be like Bob Dylan or something.
When I was a lot younger, I was like, because, and I feel as if that's not always a bad thing, especially when you're younger. Not. It's like, okay, you know, like not become, but take hold of those people that you are inspired by.
Yeah, it's just like art imitating life, isn't it? Like, you see all of that and you're like, yeah, that's what my life's gonna be.
That's it. But then getting a bit older, it's like, okay, well, I just need to be me and I just need to do my thing. But then, and I think honestly, it's Eric Johnson that's destroyed that, because in the best way, because it's like, I got obsessed with Eric and still am, and like, you see his caliber of playing, and it's like, that's next level. He's a
guitarist, by the way.
He's a guitar player,
knows who he is.
And it's like, people do not get to that level, and even people that practice like won't get to that level.
Some of the most famous musicians in the world aren't even at half that level.
Not even, anyone that's contemporary isn't it's you can't even put them in the same room. But hearing the way how he was, he had like in the 90s, that was like his heyday, and he was successful, and but he wasn't, I don't think he was never like really in the public eye.
No.
And he never was,
he was
like
no Bruce Springsteen or something.
No, a lot of the time when I say like, oh, have you heard Eric Johnson, people say no. And he's got like a pretty big following in Austin and around America. But it's like, I'd look at someone like him and I'd be like, so what is it why isn't he got this thing? Why isn't he should be the guy that's put on top, like Hendrix. He should be that guy that people cite and say, that's the guy. And then you see him in his interviews, and it's like, he just doesn't seem that bothered. But also because it's like, he does that because he just he loves it. That's who he is. Like, he'll sit there and practice the metronomes and practice all these scales, and it's like, I just can't. That's not me. I'll never be that guy. And it's like, it's like, okay, so clearly I was just doing it for the wrong reasons. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to be a good guitar player, and because I loved it, and I was like, I just give me a guitar and I'll sit there for 5 hours and play a scale, or I'll write a thing that's like great, and I it's clearly not. And then it's like, so okay, so who's the kind, so that forces me then to be like, well, what kind of person am I actually? And then I think it's like, I don't think I've fully got that figured out, but I think I've got it more figured out to the point where it's like, I'm kind of goofy. I'm not this person that walks around with like a, like this ego thing of like some musicians do. It's like, I try and be funny, or I try and find the funny, or I'll try and come up with, you know what I mean? It's like there's that, and it's like I don't need to pretend that I'm this thing, which is like, yeah, like I'm a, you know, like I'm a bit of a musician, I'm a bit of a guy, you know, I play, you know, it's like I used to be like that, and I don't have to be like that. It's like now I can just be like, no, I'm just like this guy. I'm kind of goofy, and I'm kind of like, and it's weird because it's like it feels as if that it's like I'm doing a disservice to that, like, that part of me that is a musician. But then it's like Eric Johnson's a musician that's great, and you hear him in interviews, and he's just incredibly humble and incredibly modest and self-effacing, and it doesn't really, you know, people complimenting him, and he doesn't. I feel like he doesn't really know what to say.
Pretty shy,
he seems pretty shy, and it's like, well, you can be that, but I don't know. I think it's that thing of just being more honest with myself and being like, no, I starting that process of being like, it's okay for me to be goofy, but also be like. I'll stop talking now, but it's like I recently read a book, you know, that psychopath test book.
Yeah.
And I think I might be a bit of a psychopath, because there's parts in that book which is like part of they have a test, and it's like there are certain parts of the test which is like, you know, do you have like it's something like a delusional perspective of like self grandeur, like do I think I'm built for something bigger and better? And it's like, sometimes I do think that
I've never had that.
We're opposites like that,
but that doesn't mean that I don't believe in myself or see myself doing incredible great things. It's just a sense of, I don't think that there's this deep prophecy I need to fulfill in that way with it.
I don't think that either with me.
Not that I think you do, I just mean,
and I don't see I don't want to be this. I honestly have no desire to be like, oh, I see myself as like this Ryan Gosling type guy who's in all the movies, and I'm on all the late night TV shows. It's not like that.
I would never think that that's how you think, but yeah, like, it's tough because I think I've spoken about this before. I really struggle to find this balance between being content and grateful, but then also being aspirational and driven to want more. It's defo a struggle I have on a daily basis of being like, you know, don't look at the things in your life that are negative, be grateful. But it's like, okay, you can see things that you're not happy with and think, what can I do to change them? And that's perfectly okay. But then don't lean into it too much where then you don't see the good things, and it's like do you know what I mean? Like,
I think that's where I think maybe I just like run more towards that other thing, where it's like I don't, the idea of being like, well, look, you know, in 20 years you could be this person that like has a, you know, you write comedy, and you write for TV, or you write for screen, or you act in script, but it's all your own things, and it's to do with creative stuff. And you know, you're living in a place that isn't here, and that doesn't matter like where you're living or what you're doing. It's the fact of being like, well, there was something that you knew
went and did it,
because there was an itch, and you were like, I just have to pursue it at 100%.
That's
like,
so true. That's what I've really have to come to learn, and I've had to come to like learn how to implement that in my thought like process of like, it's not about like the end result in that way. It's kind of like, because even if you did all that, even if you did do this writing stuff and you did comedy stuff and you were at a place and then you got this itch again to be like, you know what, this isn't me, I need to do this, it's like, it wouldn't matter that that's all then not right. It's just, it matters that you're always moving forward, and
exactly, that you always have that,
you're always
that
trying
confidence
and reflecting and confidence. I think that's like really what like the idea of like success or something comes down to, because you might be a successful musician, but if you don't like it, you don't even like it, never mind love it, and you don't get any fulfillment from it, how is that ever classed as success, even if you're famous and rich? Like, that's not, do you know what I mean? It's not like about the end result. It has to be about what you truly have fulfillment from every day. And that might always be something different, that might always change, and like, that's okay. You don't need to decide on it now and then stick to it, and if it doesn't work out, it's like tough, you've laid your bed now, you've what is it, you've made your bed, you know, it's like, no, you can always like get on a different path, and you know, but Do you think you're a psychopath? I might go and do this test after this.
It's not. It's the book doesn't give you the test. The book it tells you of certain parts of the test, and then the author talks about people. He visits people that
That's interesting. Yeah.
But no, I mean, you can score up to a certain point,
Of course,
so you can have tendencies, but it
spectrum of psychopathy.
doesn't mean that you're an actual psychopath.
Yeah.
Like a big one is like total lack of empathy. I don't think I've got a total lack of empathy, but
no, not at all.
But maybe to an extent. But you know, I guess it's just that thing of like, I don't know, of that thing of being like, yeah, you know, sometimes I'll feel like I'm not special at all, but then I'll quickly snap out of that and be like, no, like, you know, you came from this thing that was like a very, you know, it was kind of bleak, not super bleak, obviously, not like, you know, bombs going off,
on the spectrum of bleak, but yeah.
And it's like, no, you know, I do feel like this, but I've always been that guy. I've always been that guy that was like, I'm like, you go and do it. There's nothing that can stop you.
Which is special though. That is a special quality, because people, that's defo more rare than people like who do, you know, the odds of people, or the stats of people that do go and give something a try that they're passionate about is probably unbelievable low. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I was thinking about this the other day, like, it's like, oh, like, okay, so not everyone dreams of owning a coffee shop, but there are coffee shops open that are independently owned, so someone there has had that dream, in a sense, to do that. And then it's like, okay, but the people who work in that coffee shop, maybe that's not their dream, and that sucks, because that's not their dream, but they're working there. And it's like, yeah, but that's because not everybody does that path, and that doesn't mean that one path is better than the other, or that like one outweighs the other. It's just a different, I don't know, it's just different. And maybe the people there are like, oh yeah, I'm doing this for now, but like this is what I kind of want to do and I'm working towards that. And it's like, okay, yeah, but like that's what I mean, not everyone with that kind of privilege will follow it either. Another thing I read about Taylor Swift recently, of this thing of like, oh, she's just like a rich kid who had parents that were rich and they, you know, set up a music career and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, look, if every rich white girl had wanted to be a pop star, why isn't every rich white girl a pop star? Because you do actually have to have, not talent, because I don't think that's really real, but you have to have the drive, you have to have the creative potential to write and work on and craft something and have this, you know, work on this public thing, work on this persona, work on this, and it's like, otherwise it'd just be way too easy, you know, but I think for everyone.
I feel like that's the angle though of being like, well, you don't, again, it's changing. It's the idea of like, I read this in Atomic Habits. This was last night. It was like, you should, you know, when you want to make a change, there's different ways how you can make the change, and some are more efficient and likely that you'll stick to them than others.
As well.
So it's like, if you say like, it's like you have to change your identity more than you have to change what your outcomes want to be. So if you say like, I want to write a book, that's your objective. It's like, well, you want to write a book, so then at the finished product is that you've written a book and you've got the book. Same with like a marathon. You want to run a marathon, it's like, so that's an outcome thing. But and then the other one is like, it's an identity thing. So it's like, you don't
I want to be confident.
You don't set out to run a marathon. You set out because you want to be a runner, or you want to be a person that runs.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I don't necessarily have to write a book. I'm a writer. I'm a person that writes, and it's the same with like, for me, that I think that looks like being it's like, I'm a person that's a creative, and I'm a person that gets drive from being like, let's make something, and let's the whole process of like starts with nothing, and you make something, and it's something that's funny, or it's something that's so I could do that here, or I could do that in LA, or it doesn't make any difference. But
yeah, because the process is inside.
But if I'm also one of those people, it's like, well, I'm a go-getter, and it's like, I'm one of those people, it's like, no, I'm just I go with where that, and I'm not a person that is held back by certain things.
Yeah.
Well then, you go and do that. You go and do,
hand, yeah.
And that was a useful way of thinking about it, because it's like, like don't see it as like, well, I want to have a a 10 script series written in a year. It's like, don't think of that. Just go and do the thing that you feel like is in you, because you've got to go and do it, and that's who you are.
Yeah, no,
like Eric
so
Johnson
true.
with the guitar. It's like that's who he is. You know, he didn't set out to write Cliffs of Dover. He just played it because he was.
Like same with us going the gym or running or doing any fitness stuff. Is that because I want to weigh a certain amount or I want to look a certain way? It's like, no, but I just want to be a person that is fit and strong and healthy and athletic,
exactly.
and I get and gets great joy from that, and doesn't see it as punishment or something, a chore, or I've got to get through it. It's like, it's a big part of feeling grateful for your health and for your body, is to utilize it and to stress it and then to relax it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what was I gonna say?
It's something about just like
I had a good thing to say and I forgot it.
Because that's your identity. Like, you know, you don't go and run. You go and run because you want to be that person. Like,
oh yeah, it was this thing of like being like, okay, like, what can you do every day to invest in yourself, which is what I really want to do. It's like, I always want to be investing into myself and my own future and our future, obviously. And then it was like, it doesn't mean like, oh, investing like money into something. It's like, nah, invest like into your literal self, in your body, that you own. It's the only thing you ever have, really, at the end of the day.
And that thing of invest into your life.
Yeah.
Because if you believe that it's like, this is the only shot you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you wouldn't be that person that's like, you gotta go do it.
Yeah,
you can't be.
yeah.
Don't waste any time. Don't. It's life is short. Could be gone tomorrow. Go and do that thing.
Yeah.
You know, drain as much out of it as you can.
Yeah.
And it's the same. Yeah, it's the same, because it's like you owe it to you. You owe that to yourself.
Yeah,
you owe that
absolutely,
debt.
yeah.
You know, Jordan Peterson puts it in a good way. I think he said something. It was like, you know, that's the debt you owe to life, is a death.
Yeah.
That's so, you know.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and he might be quoting someone else, but it was a nice way of looking at it, as like, yeah, well, if that's the debt, and
it's got to be paid one day.
And it's like, so I'm just gonna, I need it to be a good life. It can't be a life where it's like you look back and it's like, yeah, you just never did it. You just never really got round to that thing where you didn't believe, you know, you listened to that other voice.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible one, because a lot of the time it's the voice of comfort. It's the voice of, you know,
like,
you think it's reason. And
you think it's reason, or you think it's logic, or you think it's reasonableness, or like being a bit more practical and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like, nah, it's not that
It's
at all.
the opposite.
It's literally
it's
like
the voice of
doubt and death, and thinking like, you know, no, do not listen to that voice. And we'll be back next week.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. That felt like a long one, but I didn't feel that long talking about stuff.
About an hour 10.
Oh, that sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good though.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that.
Went over a couple
Both
of
of our
topics.
bellies are rumbling, but we're gonna go and have some brekkie now.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're still here, thanks for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Really means a lot.
We've got our first Keep Growing Club meet up tonight, so we're looking forward to that.
This will be tomorrow, so it would have been yesterday evening. So anyone that came along to that who's still listening, thank you so much. And it was lovely to meet you and hang out. And so we're gonna see where it goes from here. And yeah.
We'll catch you next week.
Have
Thanks
a lovely
for tuning
rest
in.
of your week.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys.